Hi guys, Dr. Lena Rodriguez coming to you, your correspondent from Australia. Now, an immense amount to cover. I've just finished a collaboration with Sheila and Linda G, so I'm sure that'll be up soon. We covered a lot of ground in that one and we had a lot of fun. So if you go to Sheila Celtic Tarot, it'll be on her channel. So now, news. Matt Gaetz just got married. He eloped, right? Now, we read on him, so I won't go into that. I just want to say, having heard that his fiancée, now the new bride, fell asleep on the plane with her mouth open, and he took a picture and put it up. Who would do that to their bride of 5 hours? I think he'd be looking at divorce by the time the plane lands. I mean, and he's obviously trying to, cover his tracks and appear like a responsible married man. Like, good luck with that, Matt. Okay, now, in other news, I do want to thank you all for your comments after Lena Unchained. It was a bit of an experiment, and I thought, oh my God, I might lose half of my subscribers or something. But with 500 comments, I tried my best to get back to as many as I could, and I really thank you for that. Right? We've really, really, really got to hands on our heart and pray for what is happening in Afghanistan. Terrible stories are coming out. Everyone's there in terms of Australia, Great Britain, France is there. Everyone's trying to get people out. And I don't want you to think from my last video that I'm blaming Biden for this. Most of you didn't think that. I was just critical of a speech or two. This is 4 or 5 presidents in. It doesn't matter who the president is with these long wars. They continue them, And to a certain extent, there's not a lot of pointing fingers, but this is a military evacuation. So the Pentagon, I think, could have prepared better, massively better, but everyone's trying to help. But, and there's Marines who are taking babies over the fence and soldiers from all countries. These are the sort of things that haunt you for the rest of your life, So I really feel for the people who are part of the evacuation, as well as those who are standing in sewerage for 6 days with their children trying to get into the airport. It is a global responsibility. So now, there's so many things I don't know where to start. A correction, I like to keep the story straight, viewers. I said Abbott of Texas was the one who blamed African Americans mysteriously for whatever he blamed them for, but it wasn't. It was the Lieutenant Governor, Patrick, and he was also the guy who said early on, look, if old people died, that's what happens. We've got to open the economy. And he's still saying this sort of stuff now. It's just appalling. Now, we know that Florida and Texas, have been in a very tight race for who can govern the state worse than anyone else ever in the history of the world. They're neck and neck. But Mississippi and Tennessee are doing their best to catch up. Now, in Mississippi this week, the poisons hotline and the hospitals have been inundated not only with patients with the virus, no. Those who are taking, what is it called? Ivermectin. It's a horse dewormer. And someone told them it's great for treating COVID. So they're poisoning themselves with ivermectin. All jokes about the Kool-Aid aside, You can't believe these are adults and they have children. You know, it's beyond. Okay, now back to the nitty gritty. Remember 2 years ago, 2019, and Giuliani's offsiders, the bagmen, there was Lav and Igor. And Lav was the one who said, I put my hand up, guilty, we all did it. The other one, what's his name? I just said it. Igor held out, pled not guilty. Now he's on the brink of pleading guilty. And this dumps Giuliani firmly in the doo-doo. So I'm going to read on Igor. I'm sure he's got the dirt. I mean, it'd be on his phone, his computer, his everything. They've got all this stuff. What's going to be the outcome of Igor turning on Giuliani? Igor, what's special about his testimony? Igor. I'm using the circus cards. Well, you would, wouldn't you? Here we go. The fool. Oh, these cards. You're wonderful. Okay, look. What we've got here, he's got 2 major arcana and out of only 5 cards. So if you're learning tarot, that's a clue. If you've got 2 out of 5, it's a bigger story than it appears. So we'll have to keep our eye on this story. The Fool, many meanings, many interpretations, but I'd say let's keep it simple. It means the man was a fool to think they would get away with it, and they haven't, right? This is Igor, not Giuliani. I'm sure his would be very similar. But see the tiger's mouth. He's trying to avoid being swallowed up, not the tiger, the lion, the lion's mouth, because he held out. You'd have to say Lev was smarter and went for a deal earlier. So he's not going to get the same returns for whatever he offers. So he was really foolish to do that. It's a high wire act, as we know, balancing away there. This is the Magician card, I think, and it's right over the Fool. Right now, this is the card of manifesting things. I think because he's going to be quite desperate to come up with something new that's better than something Lev has in order to get some sort of deal and reduce sentence, so they don't actually throw away the key, I think he is going to reveal something that we haven't seen or heard of before, and it will be quite a shocking thing. See the things under the table. So Lev would have gone in first and said, look, here you go, here's my phone, here's this, here's that, off you go. Igor managed to hide things until right now. Women celebrating, or it's a celebration generally, but it's a premature celebration. I think in some level he's relieved that he is now moving forward, because there's nothing worse than just being in limbo. Often anything is better than limbo, and that's my vibe on this card. To a certain extent, the women in his life are celebrating because he's finally come to this very obvious conclusion. Slow learner, our Igor. He's come to that conclusion, and I think this is wives and daughters, or a wife and a sister, mother, wife, you know, some combination of 3 women are very relieved that he's taking this step. But it's very messy. The outcome is messy. and inconclusive. So I think they're going to start arguing with each other. Right. Giuliani's going to keep denying for how long? I've got to have a look at Giuliani. Let's have a look at Giuliani. Giuliani, according to this, Igor's reading, arguing, who was it telling me? It might have been Linda G saying today, he was seen in a restaurant shaving in a restaurant. Look, I think he's completely lost it. I think he's actually completely lost the plot. So let's have a quick dip into Giuliani. We've looked at him recently, but things, you know, it's narrowing down now. He's in trouble. Now, let's go. Quick look at Giuliani and then we'll move on. Ace of Swords, Ace of Truth. The Four of Pentacles. Oh, he's run out of money. I'm sorry. Okay. This is the Ace of Truth coming to get him. This is holding on to money here, what's left of it, because he hasn't got much. He's actually living in La La Land. He is living in Disneyland. I think he's clinically mad. I don't think he's pretending. I think he's tipped over into a clinical condition. And he just keeps at it. Look at that. Look at that. He's not going to try and save himself because he's still so deluded. I mean, eventually, I think he's going to actually, I'll stick my neck out. I think he might actually be scheduled, is the phrase we use in Australia when someone is forcibly admitted to a mental health facility. It's called something different, I'm sure, in other parts of the world, but you know what I mean. I think it might come to that. Whereas Trump, I think, isn't mad in that way. He's a bit demented and a bit very dumb, but he might pretend mental health to get out of a jail sentence. But Giuliani, I think, is the real deal. I really, really do. So in a bit of good news, always like to pass on some good news. Evangelicals, now I haven't been immensely kind, and by evangelicals I mean fundamentalist Christians, not real Christians who care about other people. No, who follow the way of Christ. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about fundamentalists. But in the good news category, some evangelical pastors are opening up their churches as vaccine centres. This is really important. Really important. So I was very pleased to see that. Now, what's my next thing here? Oh, yeah. There's a woman married to a Capitol Hill policeman who sadly took his own life recently. And because of that, she cannot get any of the benefits she would normally be entitled to because it was technically him taking his own life. Although apparently the particular brain damage he had after being assaulted by the tourists going through, i.e. terrorists, part of that sort of brain damage is to leave you devoid of hope and so forth, and actually led to him making that dreadful decision. So I want to see what's going to happen in her case. The wife of the Capitol Hill officer, oh, please, I hope she gets a good outcome. I think all she's asking for is to have the benefits reinstated, but it could be compensation as well. Is she going to be successful or not? Is she going to be successful? Oh, judgment coming down, hermit. Might have the kids. Oh, she's up against the devil. Page of Wands. Oh, these are not good cards, I think, for her legal outcome, I'm afraid to say. My first card was the Judgment card, and I thought, good. But I think the problem is the Devil card, in this case, meaning the system. And I think this means that the lawyers who will be defending against her will go to any lengths. They will stop at nothing to demonize her and to belittle the case and to throw it right back onto him. I think she's up against it. There's also the Hermit, which implies she's a bit isolated. And there's also the Death card, which can be new beginnings. At the end, it might be a truly awful case and then be okay. But I think I was hoping it'd be quite straightforward, but not, because she's going to be like a test case. She's going to be like the guinea pig, and they won't want to be paying out huge amounts of money to everyone who was impacted by January 6th on the day. The police union I've spoken about before have completely walked away from their own members over this. That could be who the devil is. And the lawyer makes a meal of that, going, well, where are the union people? They're not supporting this guy. Truly awful. Truly awful. So I hope I'm wrong about that, but I think it's going to be, they're really going to make her dance through the hoops. But we'll keep an eye on that too, because it might get better as it goes. It depends how strong she is and how long she can stand up to the abuse they're all getting. Why is it the meanest, stupidest people have the loudest mouth? Why is that? And so they're still haunting these guys and their families 7 months on. They are so foul. They barely rank as humans. You know, they are the true reptiles. You know, just awful. Now, on to other things. With the withdrawal from Afghanistan, it would mean that if America stops going into these wars, there should be, and they've increased the Pentagon's budget during the Yeti, and every president, you know, pumps more money into the military. I wish it'd get to the vets. I deal with vets every day of the week. Yeah. And, you know, people are living in apartments with mold that's part of army housing. They're waiting years for treatment they need. You know, this is not good enough. Not good enough. So hopefully some of that money will flow back into veterans housing, veterans health, and veterans mental health support. So my question is, what does a peace economy look like, right? So in theory, the military machine will be maintained to whatever level, which costs an immense amount of money. But if you're not actively involved in a war, how could that money be spent? And a little bit of history here, intrepid viewers. Both Germany and Japan, after the Second World War, were forbidden to have armies. Do you remember that? Those of you who were awake during the history classes, not like me, probably smoking cigarettes behind the toilets. They were banned from having armies, and they both went on to become economic powerhouses because their money wasn't all being siphoned off into these endless military exploits. So reducing the actual military footprint can save colossal sums of money. So I want to look at the peace economy, I'm calling it. Under Biden, will some of that money be used for infrastructure, for other things? Let's see, peace economy. What does the peace economy look like? Sorry, I should move to my normal cards. Now, I don't want the circus cards for this. We want real cards. So, will military funding be diverted back to veterans and other projects? Will it be diverted? Will it be diverted? Oh, I'm hearing redeployment. I think through this process, as you go through the hurricanes and the climate change induced environmental nightmare that we're all facing, because every time it's the same in Australia, it's the same in the UK with their flooding and everything. Everyone goes, yes, yes, we now realize it was climate change. And then as soon as that crisis is over, they do nothing. I'm hearing deployment. So I think there could be mass deployments in terms of working with the army service engineers and stuff, doing some real stuff to flood-proof and fire-proof the states. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Go redeployment. What fell out? Yes. How to use the money. Thinking about how to use the money. How perfect. Because everywhere we get told all the time there's no money for this and no money for that. But of course, there's always vast sums of money being wasted in all sorts of places. So will it be redirected? Oh, can't shuffle to save myself. What was that? Oh, the theft of some of that money. Surprise, walking around, standing so. Oh, wow. Let me just show you that spread and then I'll pick it up. So I was a bit worried when I saw that, but I think that's inevitable that some money will be stolen or not used well. Then there's the walking away, the hanged man, the group work, and a good outcome. So let's break that down. I think this is, you know, those military, they supply military hardware and things like that. There'll be contracts that are still in the works that will have to be paid out. I think that's more like what we're looking at here, rather than actual theft of money. That's the department of Erik Prince and similar unscrupulous, absolute ghastly people. That's more the Erik Prince theft. But I think in the context of this, it's about having to still pay out for pointless contracts. Those of you who've been watching a while will know Australia's investing billions of dollars in a French-made submarine, where our real problem, in fact, isn't underwater, it's on land with bushfires and floods. And the bushfire, we need those Elvis helicopters that we can send to all different states. That cost 1/10 of the submarine, but no. So this is that sort of story. So walking away from what? Walking away from the problem or walking away from these massive sums of money being spent in pointless conflicts. Let's hope it's that one. But it's followed immediately by the hanged man, which means this won't be quick. What could be quick will not be quick and take some time. It's also a new perspective. And that's what's needed when you're talking about how will we spend this money, right? You need a new perspective to come up with new ideas. I think we're going to see old-fashioned think tanks again. Remember when people actually respected experts, like whether it was scientists or doctors or anything, they used to respect experts. I think there'll be a return to that under Biden of actually crunching the numbers, and it might be something. Remember in the Clinton years, they had a system of pay go. So if you came up with a big idea, you had to work out how to pay for it, and then it could go ahead. I think every government should do that. Look at the brave new ideas and work out how to pay for it. In our case, in Australia, if we stop subsidising the coal industry, we would have enough to launch a whole new Green Deal across the entire nation. These are the sums of money that we all squander or allow our elected representatives to squander. And I think this is people working together. And there is really good potential for that outcome, and it's a good outcome for families. Now, obviously, with this sort of topic, we're not talking about doing this by next Wednesday. This is longer term, hanging around, but it is coming. And the sooner all countries realise the green workforce is the future workforce, sustainable jobs in sustainable industries, helping keep the carbon down so we have less dramatic flood and fire events, but also employing people, lots of people. Now, everyone who knows me in the real world in Australia knows I harp on about recycling. And that's because in Australia, we have our different colour recycle bins for glass and plastic and general rubbish. And then it all goes to somewhere and gets dumped. It was a wake-up call to Australia when China said last year, we're not taking any more of your landfill rubbish. We didn't know it was going to China. We have been sending our garbage to China, presumably on a ship. You know, all the energy that it takes to get it, ships of that scale to China. What? So there's lots of little industries that can spring up from proper recycling that's safe and sensible. And every regional district should have their own recycling, then feeding into bigger ones that are making more sophisticated products, you know, to sell back to industry and consumers. We have to start looking after our own garbage. We must do it as a planet. The world is round. You can't throw it away. Okay, so on that quasi-positive note, I shall finish, and I just want to let you know how much I adore you, and you guys are just the best. You are totally the best, and I'm privileged to have this work that I do. I am privileged. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And go and check out Sheila. Okay, and I'm there with Linda G. Bye now.